Our stable block has 4 stables, and in the middle of it, it has a wash bay. It's great for in the winter when it's dark in the mornings and we have a show because we can turn all the lights on. The next part that we're going to see is our arena, which is to my left, and then our show jump and cross country paddock, which is down further to my left.
All of the things we're taking, 'cause we are young and we're ashamed.
Hello and welcome to this week's video. This is such a highly requested video that I have just given in and we are going to film it today. Before we start, I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, this is going to be a very realistic type of video. Our property isn't the most aesthetically pleasing property. It's more designed for function, and I also just want to put a disclaimer out that my mum does own a riding school, which is why we have a number of horses and why we have some different types of facilities. So I think that's all I need to say. Let's get into the video. So first up, I thought I would start in the stable block. A fun fact about this is our barn, my dad actually built all of it, and he has no experience with building, so he did a really good job, and I'm very thankful to him for all the hard work that he did to make this happen. Our stable block has 4 stables, and in the middle of it, it has a wash bay where we can obviously wash our horses and tie them up. It is very useful and we use it a lot. However, in New Zealand, it's not as common as it is in other countries to have your horses stabled at night. Some people do prefer to stable their horses just to minimize the amount of risk or the amount of potential injuries horses have, but for our horses, they are kept out in their field 24/7 unless it's really bad weather like raining heaps or snowing, or they need to be on box rest. We also use our stable block quite a lot for when it's raining, as my mum will bring the horses in here and the clients can have their lessons undercover. They can tack up in here or learn different stuff in here depending on what level they are at. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about our wash bay. We have a hose. The wash bay has lights so that at night we can see what's going on. It's great for in the winter when it's dark in the mornings and we have a show because we can turn all the lights on and see what we're doing. It's always helpful. Or if there's a later lesson, we can turn the lights on and they can untack under shelter and with lights, all that kind of jazz. And that's kind of the stable block area. I thought with this video I would start with our barn, and our barn is in the shape of an L, if you will. So it goes along here and then across. So we'll start with this part and then we'll move over to the paddocks and the arena and the jumps and all of that.
Hi Doodoo. You enjoying the sun?
Sorry about the lighting, I'm being blinded by the sun. So we've just come from the stable block, which is just over here, and now we are outside the tack room. Our tack room is quite a large room compared to what some people may have, because again we have a riding school, so we have a number of horses tack that we have to keep and all that kind of stuff. Our tack room has a washing machine, a sink. It's a centre for controlling the electric fences. We also keep the riding school helmets and the back protectors in here. So we keep a range and sizes of helmets and of back protectors. Just everything that you have in your average tack room. This is kind of the setup of our tack room. We have each horse's saddles and bridles, and then underneath their saddle racks they have a box where they have their range of summer and winter covers, which are all different weights depending on the weather. Then on the opposite wall we have the riding school horses gear. A fun fact about Splash's rack, I keep my saddle inside because it's very expensive and I don't want to run the risk of it being bumped or scratched in here. And then along the walls we have my mum's ribbons from when she would compete. All my ribbons are kept inside, but it's just nice to have a nice decorative type of thing. I'm not going to show you the whole thing because I feel like that could be a whole separate video, and I would love to do a video where I do up the tack room and kind of give it a spring clean and a makeover. What else do we need to say about the tack room, Dexter? And as you can see on the door, we just have a COVID-19 notice about all our rules and all the hygiene stuff that we have to follow. Normally that isn't on the tack room door. Also, with our tack room, we keep it locked, obviously. It's very functional, but again, it's not the most aesthetically pleasing thing in the world. But I think it's important to share this kind of stuff because on YouTube, heaps of like top riders have really aesthetic places, which is amazing and like good on them. They've worked hard to have that, but having those sorts of facilities isn't the most realistic thing, and it can sometimes mean that your expectations are set up really high. Next to the tack room, along here, we just have our feed room and where we store our hay. So let's go check that out. So the feed room is located just next to the tack room. This is the wall of the tack room here. We have a old freezer that we keep our different horses' pellets in. We also keep supplements in here, which help keep the mice out of them. If you want me to do a video on what we feed our horses, let me know, because each horse has a slightly different feed regime. Next to the freezer, we just keep our different kinds of chaff. Next to it, we just keep our horses' buckets. We have a big stack of buckets. We also have a spare barrel which we also keep pellets in, and then I'm not sure if you can see, but there's a wood stack next to here where Dad keeps our firewood for the winter, because it is actually winter in New Zealand, not that you can tell from this video. It's like 19 degrees today. I'm not really sure what's happening. Then on the wall here we keep more supplements. So we have a jug of dolomite, we have a ladle thing which I use for mixing horse feeds because I'm allergic to horse feed and horses. Yeah, and then we just have different supplements on here depending on what the horse needs. The feed freezer is just there. This area here is where we store our hay. As you can see, we have some hay bales up here. We just have spare bags of feed here. We also have a box of salt licks. In summer we grow, cut and make our own hay, so this whole bay will be filled with hay. I'm appalled and I didn't even know it. Then to my left again we have the second part of the barn, so we've covered this half and now we're going down this half, if that makes sense. I'm trying to like give you guys like points of orientation, because I know like when I've watched other people's barn tours, they show things but I have no idea like what their layout of their property is like, and I just get lost. Woohoo! Good boy! Good job! Okay, do not knock the camera, okay? And now we are sitting on top of our big round bales. We've recently just swapped to using the larger round bales. I'm really out of breath. Wow, this was a bad idea. I'm very dirty. We cut and make our own hay, which is what the little square rectangular bales are. And so we've bought in this hay from a local place. So in this bay area we just have 6 large round bales. Then, as I'll show you a bit later on, we also have more of these bales out close to the horses' paddocks, so they're just easier and more convenient to move when we do move them. Having large bales like this and making our own hay, we do need to have the equipment to be able to do that. So to my left again, we have parked up our tractor, my mum's car, which is the car that tows our horse float, and then our horse float. I also live in New Zealand, so our type of barn and property sort of layout might be a bit different to places in America and places in Britain. Yeah, I think it would be really interesting to hear what you have to think about the differences between a New Zealand type of layout and like a European layout. But yeah, let's go check out the next few areas of our barn. Now I have to get down. Oh no. So our tractor is just parked next to the hay bales that I was just on. It's not the flashiest tractor in the world, but it gets the job done and it is pretty reliable. And then right next to me is where my mum parks her car. We also keep our pooper scooper in here and our lawnmowers in here. So it's definitely an area that's used a lot. And then at the very end of the barn, we keep our horse float undercover. So here's our horse float. I actually have a video on my channel that gives you a tour of our horse float. I can't really show you much right now because it's parked in the barn. It's a Pegasus float and it fits 3 horses. It has a bit of living area and I love it a lot. But this kind of concludes our barn area. And now I'll move on to showing you the horses' paddocks, and then we'll go over to the arena and have a look at there and a look at all the jumps. So in relation to the barn, the first lot of paddocks I'm going to show you is in front of me, and then the second lot of paddocks is to my left, which is kind of like at the front of our property. So I hope that kind of gives you a bit of idea of where everything is centered. Welcome to the back paddocks. To my right we have Splash's paddock, which I'm sure you've seen a lot. Then we have Indian Archie's paddock. This extends to our boundary line that way and also to our boundary line that way. Then in our second paddock we have Even Molly, and then the way we have our paddocks designed is that we have kind of like a run down in front of the paddocks so that we can move horses easily in between paddocks without having to go through each of their paddocks, if that makes any sense. It'll make more sense when I show you, so let's go have a look. So this is the paddock that Splash is in. That's his head flick. He has a wee stable area in his paddock. His paddock stretches out to that hedge over there, and it also goes along down our driveway, which is there. I'm not sure if you can see that. And I think it's important to note that with our horses' paddocks, we have made sure to give each paddock lots of areas where they have shelter. So we've planted hedges, or they have trees that they can shelter behind in bad weather, or in summer when it's really hot, they have shade that they can rest under. Yeah, let's go head down and have a look at the back paddocks. Then, like I said before, we also have some of our large round bales stored here so that it's easy access to put them in paddock. They're just covered with tarpaulin type stuff and old covers to make sure that they don't go mouldy or anything. And next to these bales is Eva Molly's paddock. Here is Even Molly's paddock. They are just happily grazing over there. Another thing I do want to say is this side of our property has special horse wire, which is specially designed to help reduce injuries if they do happen to get tangled up in the fence. It does happen, they are horses and they're not the smartest. And so I'm currently standing in the run, which kind of spans the whole way down. To my right we have more paddocks, which are our furthest back paddocks, and they are currently resting as they were used for hay in the summer. So lastly we just have our back paddocks. The layout is kind of similar to the paddocks that I've just shown you, as down here is just the run, and then to the right is where the paddocks are. With the run they can also be grazed as a normal paddock. They all have access to water troughs and all that kind of thing. They just make our life a bit easier when we're having to lead multiple horses out of different paddocks. And then behind that tree line in the distance we also have one other paddock, and that is our very furthest away last paddock that we own. But I'm too lazy to walk all the way down there just to show you a paddock that doesn't have any horses in it. I don't think that will be very interesting. So we've just come from the back paddocks, which are down here. The barn is over here, and now we are, as you can see, in front of our house. The next part that we're going to see is our arena, which is to my left, and then our show jump and cross country paddock, which is down further to my left. Around our house we also have quite a large garden, so let's go down to the arena. So I'm just outside the arena at the moment, and as you can see behind me, we have yards. We have 5 yards, which are great to use for if we need to keep any ponies off the grass during the day. And they are also used quite often for the riding school horses to be put in here and then tacked up, so that they don't have to walk over from the stable block to the arena. They're also great if we have a horse that needs to be on box rest but they aren't settled enough in the stable. They can go in one of the yards and we can give them a companion in the arena paddock, because there is grass that can be grazed in here. So in front of me is the arena and the show jump, so let's go have a look. So here we have the arena. It is a mixture of rubber chip and track sand, I believe. It's an all-weather 20x40 arena, so just a normal size dressage arena, not a long dressage arena. We do have plans to extend it out further to my right, so we can have a show jumping course on the sand, as in winter it does get a bit slippery on the grass. But yeah, this is our arena. You can see that we have lots of tyres and barrels around the arena. That's because we often use barrels for games with the riding school kids, and also tyres for obstacle type courses and all of that kind of thing. Next to the arena we have this shed. It's actually the back of an old truck, but inside it we have mirrors all along. Then back here we keep some chairs for any parents or caregivers that are watching their kids ride. And also if it's a cold day or windy, or if it's raining a little bit, the parents can sit inside this shed and watch, so that they're not getting cold and uncomfortable. We also use this shed for storage of other equipment, so we keep our big hoofball in here, and we also keep our different kind of games, activities in here. And then further to my right we have the show jump area, so I'll show you that now. So here is where our show jumping course is. We currently have a show jump course set up of 9 jumps. They have different fillers, like the one behind me has a picket fence. We also have a larger picket fence over here. We also have homemade DIY type of brick walls. Then further to my right, next to the show jumps, is a big paddock, and that paddock is our cross country paddock. We have cross country jumps in it, which we get the kids out to school over, so they kind of can experience all different disciplines of riding. And we also graze horses in that paddock, and at the moment we currently have 3 horses in there. Also in this arena paddock we currently have 1 pony grazing. And if you want to meet all our horses, I have a video up on my channel where I introduce you all, so I'll link that down in the description box below. So in our cross country paddock we have a range of different cross country jumps. We have ones like nice little houses, which my cousin Kate actually made. She started her own business where she makes cross country jumps, so if you're in New Zealand and you like the look of jumps like this, you can actually go onto her Instagram and order some. I will link her Instagram in the description box below. In our cross country paddock we have tabletops, we have hanging logs, we have houses, we have a shark's tooth down there, and in another paddock we have a ditch which we can also make into a palisade. In the winter, not that you can tell right now, but in the winter we also have a little stream that runs through, so we can practice going into water and how to ride through water and all that kind of thing. Another car. I'm getting oh golly. I've got the horse truck behind me as it's just come home from getting its Roan fitness. If you want to see a truck tour, let me know. Again, our truck is nothing super fancy or flash, but it does the job and I really enjoy using it. Yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed watching, and I know it's been really highly requested and I'm sorry I haven't done it sooner. If you have any questions or any video requests, let me know down below and I will do my best to answer them and film them. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, as I'm a bit more active on there than I am on YouTube, and you can kind of just keep up with any updates that I might have. It'll be linked in the description box below, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.